What is up guys, Jarv here, back today jumping into Destiny 2. Now in today's video, we're taking a look at some of the best weapons in Season of Arrivals. There's some fantastic weapons been added this season, so we're going to take a look at some of the best and break these down. Now if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a rating down below. That super helps me out here on the channel. And if you are new around here, I want to keep up to date with all the latest Destiny 2 content. Be sure to hit subscribe as well. But without further delay guys, let's jump into the video. Now with the launch of Season of Arrivals, we got some new weapons and also weapon perks for us to choose from, and these create some interesting decisions when we look at Year 4 and Season 15 and the sort of weapons we want to take through Beyond Light and beyond. Now with the massive weapons that have been added this season, there is a handful that really stand out, and we're going to break those down in this video. And to kick us off, we're going to start off with a new legendary energy fusion rifle, and this is the Hollow Words. Now this is a precision frame, so this weapon has a recoil pattern that's most predictably vertical. It has an impact of 80 and it has 6 in the magazine with a charge time of 740. Now up until now, fusion rifles hadn't really had a place inside PvE, with the only real fusion rifle seeing any real game time being 1000 voices. However, this energy fusion rifle presents some new perks that makes it a little bit different. Now in terms of the new perks, we'll cover these off straight away. So we have Killing Wind as one of these, where final blows grant increased mobility, weapon range and handling for a short duration, and that is in the middle column. And in the final column we've got a few new ones as well. We've also got Sympathetic Arsenal, where reloading after a final blow also reloads your stowed weapons. And the real standout one for me is Unrelenting. This is going to be a very popular perk across a lot of the weapons this season. This is where rapidly defeating targets trigger health regeneration, and guardians and powerful combatants count as more than one kill, triggering that ability more often. Now if you haven't been able to get the Hallowed Words just yet, you can get this from an Umbral engram, so be sure to hand those in over by a prismatic recaster next to the drifter to give yourself an opportunity of getting one of these weapons. And better still, you can focus these on the pyramid weapons, which helps you get a higher chance of getting one to drop. Now in terms of the go-to role, you could be looking for something like Chambered Compensator, which provides plus 10 to your stability and your recoil stats, and also something like Projection Fuse, which will provide an additional plus 10 to your range. And in terms of actual perks, I've got quite a good role. I've got Feeding Frenzy, where each rapid kill with this weapon progressively increases the reload speed for a short time. But the perk in the final column that makes this really stand out is Vorpal Weapon. This increases your damage against bosses, vehicles and guardians with their super active, and if you pair that with a boss spec mod, for example, on this weapon, this is able to delete champions very easily indeed. Any yellow bar, in fact, will regret coming face to face with your Hollowed Word. Now another energy weapon we want to take a look at is the Death Adder. This is a legendary energy submachine gun available from the new dungeon Prophecy. If you want this, you'll need to get to the second encounter, and it's an RNG drop at that stage. This is a lightweight frame with superb handling, and you also move faster when you have the weapon equipped. Now the submachine gun is 900 RPM, it has 37 in the magazine, has a really high recoil stat of 95, which tends to be vertical, which is very good for its handling. This is very reminiscent of Recluse. It's the same weapon frame as Recluse. Could this be Recluse 2.0? In a way, yes. But in a way no as well, because Recluse is very unique with its Master of Arms perk, and that is not available on this weapon. In terms of what is available on this weapon though, again you have Feeding Frenzy, which again increases your reload speed for a short time. You also have Dynamic Sway Reduction, which is quite interesting. This improves your accuracy and stability whilst continuously holding down the trigger. And in the final column, you've got a bit of a mixed bag. I've got Dragonflight on mine with Feeding Frenzy. This is where precision kills create an elemental damage explosion. That's very good for PvE. If you're still looking for a PvP role though, you have things like Rangefinder, where aiming with this weapon increases its effective range, but also Moving Target, which increases your movement speed even more, and also your target acquisition whilst you're moving and aiming down sights. So overall, this is still a very good PvE weapon. It just lacks a perk which provides increased damage output, which is what Master of Arms is good at, which is also why Recluse is so unique. Now this season has also seen the introduction of some incredible swords, and Temptation's Hook is no different. This is a legendary power sword. It has a caster frame, which is an entirely new archetype. This is where it launches a heavy projectile attack, and heavy attacks are stronger with full energy, and attacks partially bypass elemental shields as well. Now if you ever played Destiny 1, the caster frame is very reminiscent of the bolt caster from Destiny 1. So this is very familiar to some Destiny players. In terms of the actual perks though, there's again a lot of similar perks that we're used to seeing on swords. In the middle column, things like Relentless Strikes, where landing 3 light attacks within a short time grants sword ammo is very beneficial for a weapon like this. And even in the final column, you can have things like Whirlwind Blade Steel, where rapid sword strikes increase the weapon's damage for a short duration, but also you can have Vorpal weapon on this as well, and that provides an increased damage to bosses, vehicles and any guardians with their super active. And much like the Black Talon, this is a sword with range, and with the heavy attack being stronger with full energy and being able to stack things like Vorpal and even a boss spec mod again on this sword, you can deal immense damage with this sword. And if you have things like Relentless Strikes, you can also get your ammo back as well with this sword, which is very beneficial and keeps you topped up and able to use your heavy attack more often. Now the ranged attacks themselves do have a small amount of aim assist. You will see them move slightly towards targets, but you still need to have a good aim to make sure you are hitting your targets from distance. Now if you don't have this sword, again you'll need to farm this using the Umbral Engram, once again handed those in by the Prismatic Recaster over in the tower next to the Drifter. Now moving on to our weapon archetype that's seen a small buff this season, and this is a high impact pulse rifle, and that comes in the form of Cold Denial. Now this is initially available via the Season Pass, however once you've unlocked it on your Season Pass, then it can drop alongside the Umbral Engram drops that we've previously mentioned already in this video. Now the Cold Denial is a legendary kinetic pulse rifle. As I said, it's a high impact frame, so it's slow firing and has high damage, and this weapon is more accurate when you're stationary and aiming down sights. It has a rounds per minute of 340 and comes with 28 in the magazine by default. Now the recoil stat is quite high at 73, and the range stat is pretty reasonable for this archetype at 61 as well. And there are some great perk combinations you can get on here which are very strong, not just in PvE but also PvP. Now this seems to be a very popular weapon indeed. In terms of the preferred role, something like Chambered Compensator will serve you well. This provides increases to your stability and recoil of +10 with only a -5 to your handling. In the next column, ricochet rounds is always the go-to on any fast firing weapon. This provides a +5 to your range, but also +10 to your stability as well. Now in terms of go-to roles, Feeding Frenzy is obviously a top tier perk for this type of weapon that has a slower reload, but this weapon also comes with some damage enhancing perks. Things like Multi-Kill Clip are very good for PvE, and things like Swashbuckler is a very strong perk as well. You can proc this at ×5 just by getting a melee kill, and the damage output as a result is very high indeed. Now if you didn't want to go for one of the damage enhancing perks, this also has some of the newer perks that we spoke about earlier in the video. Things like Killing Wind, which will provide improvements to your mobility, weapon range and handling speeds for short durations, but also Unrelenting, which is very powerful inside the Crucible, where rapidly defeating multiple targets will trigger health regen. And with a time to kill of 0.67 seconds, multi-kills is a thing that isn't going to be difficult to achieve. And the final weapon that we're going to take a look at today is the Falling Guillotine. This is another legendary power sword. This is a vortex frame, so again an entirely new frame introduced with Season of Arrivals. This is where you launch a heavy spinning attack, and heavy attacks are stronger when you have full energy once again, and attacks will also bypass elemental shields. Now much like the previous sword we talked about, this is very reminiscent of the Dart Drinker from Destiny 1, so if you've ever played Destiny 1 you'll be very familiar with how this weapon works. Now in terms of the rest of the perks on this weapon, they are again very similar to other swords that we've had this season, with the go-to roles seemingly being Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade. And when you can proc that on something like Falling Guillotine, then bosses and champions don't really stand a chance. Now much like the Cold Denial, both of these initially need to be unlocked via the Season Pass, but once you've unlocked both of those, then you can focus your Umbral Engrams to focus in on the pyramid weapons to hopefully get a better chance at getting this weapon once again, and hopefully with a better role than the ones that are available on the Season Pass. Now an important thing to note is none of these weapons are in a particular order. I just feel these are the top 5 of all the weapons that have been introduced this season that you should be going after. And the Falling Guillotine at the moment has a small bug where it provides additional damage output above and beyond its intended amount. So if you have it already, be sure to utilize it and make the most of it until this is fixed later in the season. Now if you guys have managed to get your hands on any of the weapons that we've covered in this video today, be sure to sound off in the comment section below and let me know the roles that you've got and any recommendations you have on the weapons to chase this season. Now if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a rating down below. That super helps me out here on the channel, and we're flying through towards 32k, so thank you to everyone who's supporting the channel. It's phenomenal and I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you are new around here and want to keep up to date with all the latest Destiny 2 content, be sure to hit subscribe as well. I'm going to jump back into the game as always guys, but I will catch you all again very soon.